Right, hello everybody. This is the extended versions of the patch notes, so I put some markers down. You can jump to the video wherever you want. Please hit the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. That helps me a lot. I need those 1,000 subscribers to put my YouTube channel. I need your help for that, and otherwise that should be enough of the self-advertisement. Enjoy the patch notes. It takes quite long this time because we have shitloads of patch notes. Okay guys, good morning. It's 6 AM. The 6400 patch is finally on test and it's time to read the patch notes to you. This part of the video is for those of you who want to know all the nitty-gritty details, so let's get at it. It's so many patch notes, oh my fucking god. There are known issues involving infected graveyard loot and the levels loot of infected NPCs. Okay, the new vessel transformation system. That's what we've been waiting for. Vessel transformation system allows players to get the benefits of a new vessel without having to re-level your character. Numerous changes have been made. To upgrade to a vessel, you now right-click the vessel in your inventory. Vessels can only be used by the same character of the same race. The character must be of an appropriate level to use the vessel in the inventory. Using a vessel maintains the previous character customization options selected, talent tree and attribute points, selections, and character level. Vessels are no longer included as a part of the character creation process. Characters can only be created as poor vessel qualities. The maximum level characters can attain is now tied to the vessel rarity. So yeah, first you get level 30, then on the common vessel 31, uncommon 32, rare 33, epic 34, and with legendary you can level to 25, but you don't get any benefits for that. Gaining levels past 30 does not provide additional talents or attribute points, as the crafted vessel already grants additional attribute points, or so we think. Characters can use a vessel that in their current quality or higher. Due to the level requirements for using vessel, it's not possible to upgrade a vessel to more than one quality at the time. For example, a white character with a poor quality vessel cannot equip directly to a legendary vessel, even if they possess the vessel consumable. Common vessel body parts can now be harvested from graveyards. Oh, that's gonna be fun, finding the white vessel parts. A confirmation dialogue will appear when using a vessel before the vessel is consumed. The new lobby! Aren't we all looking forward to the new lobby? Now easier to see your characters and the choices of words through which you can join the throne war. By the way, I'm gonna add a link to the 6400 preview with the timestamp so you can directly jump there and look at the lobby or the vessel system. I'm gonna check them right after this, so the video should come up a little bit later, but soon. Next one, rebalance of attribute. Yes, we all know that from the Q&A. Adding points into strength, dex, constitution will now have more impact on how a character feels and give you more options in how to create your character's build. Our goal was to make attribute choices more meaningful by making them more impactful. Let's see how bad they strip down crafting and vessel progression, but it's all in fluid. Revised God's Reach. The new player experience in God's Reach should end at level 18 and direct the player to the infected campaign. Revised infected map. More risk, more difficult mobs, and they probably leave the rewards the same. Crafting, adjustment to war tribe and crafted items and decay rates to make everything in the game even more easy come, easy go. So now your stuff breaks after half a day when you play it like a complete maniac. Awesome! We believe this will have a positive impact on the player-driven economy. Well, it won't, because you still have fucking dropped gear in. Emotes have been added to the game. Type emote help in the chat to see how to use them. This is amazing. Can't wait for that. Mount changes. Crowfall store purchased or backup purse mounts will now also grant a permanent crafting recipe to all characters on the account in addition to one mount figurine. This recipe allows the player to change the appearance of any vendor purchased or looted mount figurine into the appearance of the store or backer purchased mount. Look for the recipes under backer rewards in your crafting recipe book. Mount figurines will now decay over time while the player is mounted, as well as decay on death. Removal of mobile banking. Yeah, that's cool. And we have to figure out what that mum attic is. Plentiful Hall. Isn't that when you turn in pigs? Have to check. Drags campaign. Now have a 20% drop chance for items equipped to your character, in addition to the 100% chance of items from your inventory dropping. Ooh. There is that partial full loot that people have been asking for. Loot protections. Harvesting disciplines now have loot protections tied to the resources gained from harvesting. Example, mining disciplines will protect ore and gems in your inventory from dropping on death. The campaign changes. Isn't that a long list? Changes to campaign scoring to make conquest points are more central to winning and offering a separate vector of rewards. You are no longer able to place other buildings' siege weapons while in placement mode for a different building. Fixed issue with siege weapons being able to be placed on top of each other. Fixed an issue that allowed opposing factions to use keep vendors. Updated the error message trying to place a ballista on a socket your faction does not own has been updated. Stay out debuff's name has been updated when it hits you and not appear like system text. Caravans no longer disappear when using the whistle while standing on RuneGuide platforms. After losing the outpost chest, it will respawn instantly to other outposts. The Class A stable steed will now properly reflect the buffs given to the players in its description. Fixed an issue that caused Arcane's armory buff to display physical resistance and penetration buffs rather than elemental. The siege weapon placement window has been updated to better display where siege weapons can be placed. Updated the Tree of Life appearance for the castle. Fixed an issue where some destroyed stronghold towers were difficult to move through. The siege weapon placement window now exits after successfully placing the ballista. Added a visual to a banewood tree when it's destroyed. Fixed an issue where some candle holders were not appearing in keeps. Reduced firefly speed, adjusted LOD culling distances. Fixed an issue causing colliders to not function on vendors placed by the players. Removed invisible collision pieces in the Earth Temple. Added the Heart of a Hero badge for the Trial of the Hero. Neutral faction interactable fire can as the red light when a hostile target is behind it. The Sentinel of Sun has received a new model. Updated victory card descriptions to clarify between the castle and the keep. To make this more clear to Eternal Crows, the castle will now show up in the castle on the interface. The castle has its own set of conquest and penalty points granted now. It's worth the most of any stronghold in the campaign. Players are now automatically assigned to a faction on entry to the infected campaigns, bypassing the faction selection screen. The big green no restriction signs will now be shown when viewing the details of the campaign with no restrictions. Updated the castle octagonal towers to make floors flush. Nope. Okay, let me grab some tea. Alright, where were we? The NPC Ranger Guards. Basic attacks now properly do damage to the player. Rallying Bolt FX should now be visible for the duration of the power. Fixed an issue where the Metallurgy Lab had an extra FX visible. Updated Siege Weapon hit FX when damaging target other than stone wall. Fixed an issue with Landless players getting credit for victory cards requiring killing enemy characters. Fixed an issue with Landless players getting credit for victory cards requiring sacrificing enemy heads. Fixed an issue where sometimes exporting an item from a world bank would prevent it from being transferred. Adjusted the interact of the outpost ladder to be easier to use. Created new icons for several EK parcels. The debuff for enemy rune gates has been updated and new guard NPCs. Added a visual when a stronghold is under attack. Siege Sentinel debuff. Selena's Mirth now has a damage cap applied to it of 1500 before mitigations are applied. Fix an issue when up against a wall and in combat you cannot back from the wall. Catapult projectile lifetime slightly increased to allow it to reach its maximum distance. Victory card description should now reflect when they require unique player kills. Adjusted some towers to match with the rest of the walls. Tree of Life resting buff description now lists it restores class-specific resource rather than mana specifically. Sanctuary safe zones can no longer be cleared by going stealth. Changes for crafting. Recipes cannot be renamed, now bypass the Take UI screen and auto-deposit the products into the player's inventory. Added the amount of resources produced by refining to the description of refining recipes. Updated tooltip requirements for a specialty toolkit and crafting belt. Equipping a crafting belt now properly plays SFX. Harvesting a plant now displays fly tags that matches the damage that it says in the combat log. Fixed an issue with crafting window expanding all categories after exiting a surge. War Tribe items removed attack rating and critical damage from weapon core stat packages. Subcomponent items such as metal bars, planks and stitched leather now start with 1 stat and increase to 2 stats at epic plus quality levels. Fixed an issue where the assembly button UI and quantity field UI overlapped. Bone Broth will now grant dined for 20 minutes, giving the player a bonus 5% harvest critical chance. System vendors now sell items based on a multiplier on the base item. This should prevent all cases of buying low and selling high back to the vendor. Ah, cool. Fixed an issue where you would receive an error even when you are successfully crafting an item. Recipes that have a chance to produce additional crafting disciplines now have bad luck protection to prevent some of the problems caused with RNG streakiness. Attribute changes. Updated attributes values on looted vessel attributes. Added attribute caps to stats to all vessel crafting such that it automatically grants the same amount of attributes and attribute cap per piece. Attributes have been removed from crafted armor. Attributes have been removed from War Tribe armor. Attributes have been removed from War Tribe weapons. Attributes value have been halved on jewelry. Attribute values have been halved on runic weapons. Item decay. In combat, decay ticks now happen every 5 seconds. Increased in combat decay ticks amount to 3. Jewelry. Jewelry slots can now take in combat DK ticks. Increased durability on all jewelry. Added durability experimentation to some jewel crafting recipes. Owl Cut Ruby now grants critical healing chance. Exploration. Disciplines. Reduced amount critical harvest chance granted at all levels. Reduced amount of critical amount granted at rare, epic and legendary qualities. Necromancy can now produce common quality vessels. Reduced attribute values on all quality vessels. Altered grave digging treasure tables so they can now also produce common quality resources. Nice. Alchemy. Reduced attribute values on all qualities of the Philosopher's Stone. Added a new value recipe for sandpaper. Multiple woodworking recipes now require sandpaper as fuel. Reorganized the recipe categories. Book chapter and book laughs are now woodworking recipes. All book subcomponents that previously required metal rebars now require wooden planks. Bow sides are now a woodworking recipe. Bow rests are now a woodworking recipe. Staff Head no longer requires Runestone Life Death. Staff Heal is now a woodworking recipe. Heal Mold is now bending form. Deep deprecated weapon grip recipes. Modify weapon form recipe. Sorry. Modify weapon form recipe now accepts bending form staff heal. All previous weapon ingredients that required metal bars should now require wooden planks. That's probably only true for certain recipes. I would assume you still craft your weapons like a sword with metal bars, but I think we all know what they mean. Rune crafting. Deprecated Runestone Life Death. Deprecated Sigil Life Death recipe. Leatherworking stitch leather valid combinations have been altered. There is now a valid combination for 3 of the same type of hide. Harvesting. Harvesting pip powers now properly convert to the same amount of health cost as combo points when used in the Blood Pact power. Harvesting loot tables. Increased potential maximum amount for medium amount loot rolls. Added a new sound when harvesting a tree without a tool equipped. Genesian harvest tools have been updated to render correctly. Fixed an issue where harvesting sounds were sometimes out of sync with the animation. The Eternal Kingdom changes. Added collision detection as needed in puzzles to remove issue with crows getting stuck between rocks and a hard place, mostly rocks. Building placement UI is now hidden after the building is placed. Fixed an issue that wouldn't allow crafting station and jewel crafting stalls to be zoomed in for placement. EK remove, EK add vessel, EK add noble should now send chat messages. Added general chat that could be used to inject chat channel messages for context users. Higher tier EK buildings will now have a place for slottable thrones, allowing for greater customization. This change comes with the introduction of individual thrones. Replaced stopgap keeps in the palace, citadel, castle packs with their actual respective strongholds. When the training camp is moved, the practice dummies on it will respawn at the new location after it's placed. Fixed issue with buildings with attached vendors having placement failures when removed. Fixed default position of the vendor window. Fixed issue with vendors not displaying ghost meshes when the building they are attached to are being moved. Fixed the display names for crafting tables in the Eternal Kingdom. Fixed issue with vendor disappearing after placing it when on temple parcel. Fixed issue with glass flickering during rebuilding when something that covers grass is created or destroyed. Fixed an issue where the hanging banner would clip with a wooden gate. Buildings are now able to be placed on harvestable nodes. Harvestables in front of a buildings during placement now disappear so they do not block the view of the building. Harvestables on the buildings now stay despawned even after the parcel is removed and re-added. Raise and lower controls for building placement are no longer swapped. Higher tier EK buildings will now have a place for a slottable throne. Yeah, we already have that. The female vendor now shows a female icon in the tooltip. Fixed issue with vendor icons staying active while building containing vendor is being removed. Updated the icons for some EK parcels. Fixed an issue where defense items weren't being counted in the parcel's tooltip defense token counts. Fixed an issue with EK editor selecting the wrong parcel because the crit collider was too low. Removed kingdom and zone tabs from EK. Improved explanation of cells and tokens in the chat command help list. Fixed the orient placing multiple deeds in EK. The UI changes. Quest NPCs should update its picture on how to use whistle power. Adjusted power tooltips repositioning for an extended selection to only happen if the tutorial tooltip would go off screen. Added hold control text to power tooltip. Fixed problem with gate teleporters. Fixed the damage heal fly text on cell from disappearing inside the body. Stats now show up on the 10,000th place in the crafting window. Create a character create. All characters now start with a poor quality vessel. Updated the campfire power name to not display campfire twice when it damages you. Fixed the problem while held F interaction could get stuck in process if the hold is stopped too early. Many tooltips now mention the key to the currently mapped summon mount key. Awesome. Cans are now accessible to player regardless of where they die. Even if you jump off a cliff to your death, the can will be placed at the last good location. We are not telling you to jump to your death, but if you should do that, you should be able to reach your can now. Fixed an issue that allowed players to buy and then immediately sell certain items to vendors for a profit. You can no longer split stacks in the trade window. Aligned subguild crest should now appear as the appropriate size. The unspent talent points will now display more frequent when a player has unspent talents. Fixed an issue where faction quests sometimes would not render correctly. Graves now appropriately change their appearance when harvested. Fixed an issue when sometimes players could get stuck in faction select in infected campaigns. Added updated icons for some campaign rewards. Adjusted the description for the dexterity stat. Holding the control key while buying or selling items will now sell items without confirmation. Control right mouse no longer combines stacks in the inventory. Dragging items within a bank vault should no longer cause them to hop into your inventory. Numpad enter should now work the same of the regular enter for opening chat messages. Items added to the sacrifice pits, war tables and building signposts can now be removed by dragging them out. Fixed an issue where fly text should stack up while the map was opened. Fixed an issue on the tooltip on several percentage-based powers, lowering an extra percentage sign. The patcher now checks for server down for maintenance and informs the user when they launch. Added an image showing the equipment slot for the mount in the player's inventory. Test patcher will now insist on an email address for the username. Changes to the powers. Fixed an issue where sometimes characters would stop being able to use powers. Adjusted the motions of jumping and a few powers so that there is a greater feeling of momentum. Ganesians now display purple dirt when revealed by alertness or powers similar. Talent trees have been updated to have the extra minor slot as a prerequisite for unlocking the stat bundle above it. Genesian Spurrow effects will now properly reapply after using Cheat Shot. Exorcist has been removed from the Alkan racial domain and replaced with Forest creature. Damn! Increased the attack rate of basic attacks and adjusted damage for the basic attacks for the following classes: Assassin, Duelist, Knight, Myrmidon, Ranger, and Templar. Purify and Cleanse will now remove Damnation. Update the appearance of some Frostcasters. Orbs VFX unified for Druid Heal Orbs, Burning Hatred, Smoldering Hatred, Bloodprints, and Fountain of Life. Chain Pull now displays a hit FX for both the player version and the NPC version. Adjusted the motions of jumping on a few powers so that there is a greater feeling of momentum. Fixed the problem with interactions sometimes not taking the user out of stealth. Pixie Discipline has been added to the nature domain. Assassin updated the description of the Vandal Kidney Shot enhancement to better describe the enhancement on how it works. Adjusted the start time of Assassin base attack animation to feel better on clicks. Assassin Cutthroat Talents node now indicates it improves the armor penetration physical stat. The Daggerstorm FX now renders correctly. Champion adjusted the start time of Champion base attack animation to feel better on click. Fixed an issue that caused damage mitigation from Ultimate Warrior to persist after its duration. Fixed an error in Ultimate Warrior's buff tooltip, causing it to display 15% rather than 1000. Ultimate Warrior, Mighty Warrior and Brutal Warrior are no longer activated by a special resource and now cost 25 rage. Yes! The reuse of these abilities are governed by a normal cooldown like other abilities. Aww. The cooldown can be modified normally by stats like other abilities. The buffs applied by these abilities are the former second stage level and last 2 minutes. While they are active, each of the abilities now also cause you to gain additional 2 rage each time when you hit with an attack. The Blood of the Giant racial ability is now governed by normal cooldown instead of secondary resources and shares the same cooldown group as the other Champion Warrior abilities. This cooldown can be modified normally with cooldown modifying stats. The buff is granted by Blood of the Giant and is equivalent to the second stage level of the former version of this buff, but these buffs are overridden by the Champion Warrior abilities. Blood Rage now grants movement CC immunity of 10 for 10 seconds instead of health. Oh, that's nice. Fixed an issue that caused damage mitigation from Ultimate Warrior to persist after its duration. Fixed an error in Ultimate Warrior's buff tooltip, causing it to display 15% rather 1000. We already had that. Updated the Vicious Stomp FX. Cleric changes. Fixed the automation for Holy Aura and Vengeance Aura. Fix the animation for those. Arbiter Illuminate now increases the healing bonus of the group instead of placing a stamina hot on them. Arbiter Flash of Light now affects enemies within 7 meters instead of 5 meters and has decreased cooldown. Spiritual Presence now adds a damnation to enemies hit by it instead of slowing them. Cleric's Divine Order effect is no longer cancelled by dodge. Exhaustion dots now tick for 15 stamina every 2 seconds instead of 8 stamina every 2 seconds. Oh, big buff for that. That's interesting. Runic Book of Archon, High Elf and Centaur have an incorrect appearance while equipped. Fix the book animations to not let the inside clip through the cover. Adjusted Confessor base attacks to help with combat feel, help with casting cadence. Removed a duration from the tooltip of righteousness that did not relate to anything. Hellfire Shield FX is now properly removed when Hellfire Aura is used. Hellfire Aura base radius has been increased to 8 meters. Ooh, Confessor buff. Inquisitor Hellfire Aura no longer increases in size, it remains 8 meters. Sanctifier Hell Aura now increases the amount of targets it can hit to 7. Or Spitting Distance now reduces the cooldown of Meteor Purge. Reduces being regenerated resources being regenerated by Frostweavers will now properly display in the name of the combat log. Absolution now consumes the sin from the target it hits. The Druid changes. Aura Emitter should now hit up to 5 targets. Archdruid Blight no longer destroys the Burning Hatred or Smoldering Hatred traps when cast on them. Grasping Root no longer has a debug text for the power name. Replace the Storm domain with the Protection domain on the Druid Earthkeeper promotion. Camouflage no longer places you in the hidden state if you spam jump while moving. Grasping Root no longer has debug text for the power name. Archdruid on Earthkeeper picking up Coalesce Nature Orbs while in the Death Tray and at above 56% essence will no longer automatically set your essence to 79.6. Typo. Static Bolt will now properly dismount a Druid if used while they are mounted. The Druid's capacitated passive power will now display an FX when Lightning Shield is applied. Fixed an issue causing Force Nature to show incorrect attack power and support power values. Fey Druid Wings will no longer randomly swap colors between the black and white when switching Life Tray to Death Tray. The Blight of Plosix Orbs visual effects will now display when it converts a life orb. Druid Force of Nature has been updated to cause healing orbs picked up to cause AoE damage to enemies near it, and exploding orbs that explode also heal friendlies near it. That's cool. That's cool. Archdruid Barkskin enhancement now causes a small AoE around when the barrier is damaged off or stripped in another way. Druid Gaia's Growth now spawn healing orbs for each enemy hit. Archdruid promotion now grants an additional stat of 10% basic damage bonus. Updated the Druid's basic attack speed of animations. Druids with only the Death Tray will no longer have the purple shader on them after they exit a siege weapon. Force of Nature damaging SFX no longer plays for orbs picked up that do not hit an enemy. Blight no longer blocks movement while casting the power. Casting Coalescence Life Orbs will now properly dismount you. The Duelist. Snipe now applies a personal damage debuff. Dirge promotion now adds a root to Pepperbox Shot on 5 pips in addition to the piercing mitigation debuff. Nice. Lunge now applies a bleed. Ooh! The Duelist Explosive Barrel now has a 1-second deploy time before it can trigger. Underhill Duelists now use the proper hit FX for rapid fire. Inconceivable display duration of the coins of inconceivable power now lasts longer. Adjusted the start time of Duelist base attack animation to feel better on clicks. Fixed Keen Guard tooltip so that it displays the correct buff duration. Fixed an issue where the Duelist Slayer's passive mentioned direct pain rather than Keen Guard. Duelist Impale now indicates the damage increase if you purchase the Dirge talent. Rapid Fire's duration has been adjusted to better align with the animation. Corrected ability description for Inconceivable. Pepperbox Shot no longer heals the target hit under certain conditions. Fixed an issue with the Duelist's pip widget displaying when entering and exiting stealth. Keen Guard now displays a separate buff for the Slayer critical strike damage buff for using it. The Frostweaver changes. Icecaller no longer enhances Shatterstorm, now enhances Frost Armor to heal the target that picks it up. Fixed an issue where Stable Ice visual effect would disappear early. The quality of Healing Flurry's lightning effect should be the same as with other powers. Lowered the cooldown of time of Healing Flurries to 20 seconds. Healing Flurries can now critically heal. Healing Flurries refreshing ice spawns heals for the same amount of other refreshing ice. Frostweaver Ice Block will no longer be cancelled instantly if used while you are moving. Chill Out description has been updated to better describe how it interacts with cool ice in its radius when cast. Frostweaver Healing Flurries base healing has been slightly increased. Frostweaver Piercing Lance description now properly updates the damage it deals when you equip weapons. Fixed an issue with the Frost Armor, interactable wouldn't display the FX. Death Charge cooldown has been increased from 9 to 18 seconds. Ooh, evil nerf for Frost, for Archmages. Refrigerate soul power cost has been increased from 500 to 750 soul power. Another debuff for Frostweavers. Another nerf, I mean. Night changes. Resolve now heals a percentage of damage done to you while blocking. Block reduces the cost of big hits while blocking from 20 to 10. Retribution Slash. Change the buff to a 25 Thorn and 25 Thorn buff instead of 50 Thorns. Shield Slam now decreases the personal damage modifier by 10% instead of 5. Sentinel Noble Blood enhancement is now a suppress instead of a root. Night domains have been updated. Swordsman now gets death instead of justice, and Secutor gets protection instead of death. Night Swordsman promotion now lists damage bonus plus 3% instead of damage plus 3%. Night Bulwark Talent Mode now lists personal damage modifier plus 4.5 instead of personal damage plus 4.5. Pursuit Lightning of Axe now lasts the duration of the movement buff. Adjusted the start time of the Night base attack animation to feel better on clicks. Night Noble Plus and Pursuit Barrier no longer stacks. Secutor Oath of Will enhance. Buff now properly reduces the cost of each tick of stamina for blocking. Fix the Night block ability description. The Myrmidon's Furious Flash now debuffs the target personal healing modifier when hit by it. Adjusted the start time of Myrmidon base attack animation to feel better on clicks. The root FX from Myrmidon's net pull should now travel appropriately with the target. Myrmidon domains have been adjusted. Titan now has a wind instead of death, and Conqueror has death instead of wind. Fix the problem where half-giant Myrmidon male one-handed access display reversed when doing basic attack. Fixed an issue that caused neck slash to activate outside of berserking for Titans. The Rangers. Fixed Ranger jump on elf male so the camera follows the player properly. Rangers now start with the ability to dual wield instead of unlocking it when purchasing the sweep talent node. Updated the Ranger Warden promotion to have the Plague domain instead of the Frost domain. Twin Surge combo now has a better timing with its FX. Adjusted the start time of Ranger melee basic animation to feel better on clicks. Ranged ammo equipment damage will now be reflected in the ranged power tooltip. Fixed an issue causing concussive trap to show an incorrect damage value in its tooltip. Updated the ranger's basic attack effects. Archer promotion concussive trap now debuffs personal damage modifier instead of physical mitigation. Brigand promotion sweep enhancement now adds a movement speed in combat buff in addition to the barrier. Brigand from the Shadows now grants a movement CC immunity for 10 seconds when you exit stealth, in addition to all attacks counting from behind. Warden concussive trap cooldown reduction enhancement has been increased from 50 to 60%, and a Warden's concussive trap now adds 50-point barrier to the Warden when the trap is triggered. Revitalize buff to friendly in its area has been removed. Warden, disengage enhancement now resets the cooldown on all stake powers in addition to placing a trap where you leapt from it. And last but not least, the Templar changes. Vindicator promotion, Divine Light enhancement now adds damnation to the target hit by it. Righteous Smash now applies a group personal healing modifier buff when you hit it with it. Templar Holy Warrior no longer costs Seal Tree. Divine Pull maximum target has been reduced to 3 and renamed to Congregation. Adjusted the start time of the Templar base attack animation to feel better on clicks. Holy Warrior of the Vindicator promotion now applies the normal health buff and also increases your movement speed in combat. Vindicator promotion now gives 400 health instead of 200. That's a good one. Fury Penitence is now a cone attack and can hit up to 3 targets in a 20-meter cone. Holy Warrior Fury promotion enhancement now increase the health buff it gives in addition to adding a slow to your melee attacks. And increase the duration of Holy Warrior from 15 to 20 seconds for Furies. Paladin passive power now grants 2% critical healing amount per stack in addition to the critical healing chance it already granted. Templar Righteous Stand of Axe will now follow the Templar. Disciplines. Abominable Snowman Discipline. Terrifying creature no longer stuns the player when they take fall damage. Added stats to rare plus exotic exploration disciplines. Cool. Educator, Prosecute no longer scales damage based on sin on the target, but now applies sin to nearby targets. Archery, Minor Discipline has been added to Assassin, Champion, Myrmidon class discipline set list. Ancient Provocateur removes the vertical line of X at the center of Caltrop's power. Arcane Archer corrected the description of Arcane Barrier, which was previously inaccurate. Banshee Discipline power Haunt of X will no longer persist longer than the debuff itself. Barbed Stake, corrected code string appearing in Barbed Stake description. Bearer's Insignia fixed an issue causing the buff from Bearer's Insignia to show an incorrect barrier amount. Dispel now adds the exposed effect when it removes a barrier from an enemy. Dryad, Nature's Avatar power from the Dry discipline will no longer disappear after equipping the Pack Avatar Minor discipline. Forest Creature removed a redundant negative sign in the description of Slow Stake. Friar, Forge's Blessing will now properly override the Pathfinder buff as it is higher priority than the Trailblazer buff movement. Hydrologist, Water Spirits now properly place a charging effect when charging. Ice Devourer now grants personal healing modifier buff instead of healing buff bonus. Lord of the Forest, Forest Creature and Kinetic Bloomer. Blackout time has been reduced on Root Stake, Protection Stake and Slow Stake to better match the animation. Lord of the Forest, Protection Stake visual effect should now be better in sync with the buff fading. Mass Dispel now exposes targets that get their barriers removed and increases the number of targets the power can hit to 8. This could be viable now. Master of Darkness, Stink Bomb power description has been updated with the correct number of ticks. The dot does. Master of Focus, adjusted Master of Focus discipline to follow the same general patterns of the full discipline items. Master of Focus mana shield duration has been reduced to 15 from 15 to 12 seconds. Mana shield no longer gives a damage bonus buff. Master of Swords, the description of Iron Skin is now consistent with the stat added by its buff. Night Stalker has been removed from the Death domain and added to the Shadow domain. Pack Leader, Form Life no longer spawns the second orb on the caster when used in quick succession. Form Life is now a single-click cast power, similar to how the Frostweaver Ice works. Ah! Pack Leader, Form Life Burst FX will now play when the orb was picked up. Pack Leader, Form Life 2 should be usable by friendly allies. Paragon, the functionality for rehabilitation has changed. It now heals 500 damage 3 times over 6 seconds with a 30-second cooldown. This ability does not scale with support power. Reality Warper, Spiritual Decay duration increased from 9 seconds to 12 seconds for the pulsing AoE around the caster. Reckon, added Reckon power animation to the Minotaur and Alcon. Redeemer Discipline, Concatenation passive, Concentration passive now grants 80 mana per tick instead of 20. Remove the Shadow Master, Destroyer, Molten Mage, Leecher, Brutal Slam, Master of Access, and Scald the Cracker discipline from vendors. Spirit Breaker Bear effect for the Gaia's will now move. Spirit Breaker Gaia's Wail should now have a Bear Spirit VFX appearing when it's cast. Shield Fighter now grants Buckler proficiency and the shield equipment slot. Stalwart fixes an issue that caused Get Behind Me to have 2 percentage signs. Standard Bearer, Sentinel description now indicates the amount buffed. Transcended Warrior, Guiding Light Aura has been increased from a 5% Fire Holy damage buff to 10% Fire Holy damage buff. Verlaine Explored Discipline. Put your back into it no longer displays a debug string for it, granting the harvest power pips in the combat log. The general changes with NPCs. NPC attacking a neutral or non-listed NPC will not change its outline to red color. NPC Ranger Rapid Fire now properly plays arrow for all shots fired. Remove duplicate weapons from some Stoneborn NPC members. NPC Templar Judgment hit effects have been resized. NPC Hunger Hellcat basic attacks now display a name other than attack. NPC Assassin Toxin attack no longer reference Araqua in its name in the combat log. NPC Ranger Guard will no longer stop attacking if the target of the player hides from keep walls attachables. The NPC Elemental Boss will now present in Elemental Camps. NPC some fixed collision issues in the tower so some guards don't get stuck while taking the daily walk. Added a small delay when NPC targeted with ranged attacks will react to the player. Fix an issue with the visual of NPC Confessor attacks. Vendors Rapier have no third item variant. They do now. Vendors should have the proper faction within the temple. Hellcat slam damage and hit FX are now in better sync with the animation. Added additional quest NPC reaction sound when interacting with them. Doubled amount of minor disciplines and soul gem drops from Thrall group bosses up to 6 from 3 each. Removed Shadow Master, Destroyer, Molten Mage, Leecher, Brutal Slam, Master of Access, Skulls, Cracker, Stake disciplines from the Thrall loot tables. Please note that the removed disciplines have had the powers added into classes. Added Frostweaver mob spawners. Fixed blind action on NPC to stop the action when NPC is no longer blinded. Fixed the visual effect where NPC Cleric Guard arms would stick off the shield while in combat stance. Fixed an issue with some vendors not animating correctly. Added a vendor for purchasing common quality vessels. Audio and voice. New voiceover for half-giant females Battlecry. Updated the sound effects of numerous abilities. The Well of Eternity will now make fountains noise. Fix an issue with the sound effects and animations when hitting frozen resources. The Equip Your Axe tooltip will now mention just equipping an axe in the case of the player doesn't have an axe in their inventory. Fixed some instances of sounds not triggering for Ranger Barrage, Duelist Vanish, Genesian Borrow and Holy Symbol. Race specific powers, Netari Call Flames, added hit sound for Dot. Local player only, you need to be the caster to target to hear it. Fury Fire, rework to match the new VFX Half Giant Blood of the Giant, now sound to match the new animation and VFX. Confessors, basic, hit sound was playing multiple times. Furore, updated sound to match the VFX. Meteor Purge, updated sound to reflect. The power is now instant instead of charge. Flames of Truth was missing the sound for delayed AoE effect and sound of AoE hit. Hellfire Shield, new looping sound to match VFX for duration of buff. Hellfire Aura, new looping sound to match VFX for duration of the buff. Blink of Fate with missing cast sound and hit sound. Druid, Gaia's Growth, new power, needed unique sound. Healing Rain, AoE sound was not played from the correct location. Frostweaver, Shatterstorm with missing hit sounds, sync was off. Cold Comfort, rework to match the new visual effect. Refrigerate, rework to match the new VFX. Freezing Blast, tuned down. Refreshing Breeze, tuned down. Healing Furies, new power, needed unique sound. Ice Block, new power, needed unique sound. Tutorial, Hungry tutorial. Oh my god, this is so dumb. Hungry. Tutorial tip now fires when the player hunger is low enough for the hunger debuff to be applied. The Crafty Crow quest should no longer have any complications, even if the player already has an immortal ring in the inventory or equipped. The bow and arrow tutorial tips will be displayed once again if the player equips a bow and arrows. Quest dialogue, grammar and spelling fixes. Fixed the bug where tutorial tips couldn't be closed in with the cursor consistently. Updating the Earth Sentinel begin dialogue with a new image for attribute points and adjustments to dialogue to reflect attribute point changes. Fixed a sizing issue with Ally Crest. Alliance UI is disabled in EK. Other female vessels now have their hands gripping a weapon at all times when unsheathed, especially when jumping. Fixed some issues where vessels would get stuck on hunger crystals. Fixed Minotaur Eat to be in line with other races, eating with the left hand instead of the right, and shortened the timing to match everyone else. Fixed some animation issues when eating in combat. Fixed an issue where some players would be unable to load into the game. Group members in your zone who are more than about 250 meters away from you will no longer show up as not in zone. Improved the animation responsiveness on many basic attacks. Adjusted the culling distance for runegate assets. Mounts now take in combat decay. Mounts increase the durability of mount items. Various spelling and grammar errors were fixed, updated the items and available inventors for the infected. Various spelling and updated the screenshot for screenshots of disciplines to display the correct art. Fixed clipping with Genesian armor. Thank you for listening to me for that long, if you listened to all of that. Bye bye.